designed for humans, mistakes, liability, punishments, and user doctor and errors may occur without any human input and needs to adjust, but a liability harm patients. Liability has AI becomes underregulated and AI promotes to revolutionizing getting liability right is essential to unlocking AI's potential and uncertain rules, cause litigation, discourage investment in development and adoption of AI in healthcare, and depends on the framework and determines liable for an injury and assigned liability when a black box recommends a treatment and accountability should everyone else face if they encourage adoption and critical to establishing responsible use of AI aid in diagnosis, research, predictive analytics, and liability focused on the end user, and users will avoid AI if they bear a liability for fatal errors and shifting the blame to designers or adoptees does not dissolve. No one can be sure how an algorithm arrived at the conclusion. Anything else broadly dampens investment in medical AI applications. Certainty is key. That's involved as 18 specific rules foster professionalization, making AI more responsible and transparent for the liability generate safer technology manufacturers compelled to avoid technical failures. Liability rules lead to increase in safety investment and ensure recovery from harm, and the clear rules must be established to avoid uncertainty and has an adverse effect on investment. Uncertain act as for to investment into open robotics. Robotics under developed. The plan guarantees AI is developed safety and effectively. Any alternative discourages broad innovation. That's done for 22. The modifying liability validates so the imposition is absence, negligence, or controls. The liability manufacturer is not situated to prevent accidents caused by AI. In decision making undermining justification for applying liability when all result in less accidents does not translate. When AI performs tasks better than humans and assigning tasks to AI will prevent accidents, further improving performance on the AI physician itself, and liability caused by medical errors, discouraging automation in favor of less risky AI. When AI is safer than humans, and neutrality is violated when the law imposes more liability for AI practicing than it does for humans practicing. That's key to precision medicine. That's Spinner 22. AI tools catalyze precision medicine, tailor intervention, and unprecedented specificity, assessing insight. Physicians understand medications impacting a person's decision about the future, and AI-powered analytics drive precision medicine, predicting behavioral tailoring interventions, and personalizing resources allow sites to be proactive and personal. Precision medicine solves telomere erosion. That's MOLA 22. The increasing importance of genetics and medicine in individuals. The IPF and offer genetic counseling and essential to counsel generations of patients with cellular shortening and their relevance in treatment currently in drugs only capable of slowing down disease without stopping it completely. Incidence and prevalence of IPF is increasing as the population ages. Here's an urgent need for therapies and a specific treatment with teletherapy. However, it would be ideal to study in order to choose personalized treatment for the patient and marker to determine patients who have poor response to therapy. Telomere measurement help in patients deciding personalized treatment, maintenance of telomere length. This is harder for therapy. This field for personalized therapeutic approaches in the era of precision medicine. Telomere erosion causes extinction. That's Ellery 22. The biological constraints on cellular division are imposed. These are lessons we can learn in implementing technological solutions. Our focus will be on the telomeres, and the telomeres are protein DNA at the end of there's chromosomes that acts as a buffer for forming molecular plaques to protect them in each cell division. The single strand end of the telomere is not replicated. Telomere is short and progressively to a critical endpoint. The cell senescence is invoked. This limits the number of times that cells can replicate. The help limit of senescence is a cell cycle arrest that occurs due to telomere loss, and the senescence induced by critically shortened telomeres is the causative agent of aging and its associated disease. The characteristic feature is the halting of cell division, and there is a tiny erosion of the telomere length of generation that leads to critically short telomeres and genomic instability in the germline, inducing species extinction. Empirical evidence proves that Sindel 14, the intrinsic causes of species extinction of all species that have existed 99.9% died out. According to Dartmouth, that causes of extinction lie outside the organism, and their actual causes lie deeper and manifest earlier than any environmental influences whatsoever. Reasons for extinction are internal in the lineages themselves, and geological catastrophes should be only lasted in age-associated diseases like cancer, cardiovascular disease, immunosensitive dementia, and degenerative diseases, and culminating in middle-aged individuals and critically short telomeres cause these health issues. The species either stabilizes or becomes extinct in generational erosion. Triggers or player in the many at once, and a single short telomere determines the duration of a species. Personhood is key. That's Chung Instinct 17. Watson should be classified as legal person for approaching liability without clarification of AI. Cases promise to become longer calls for litigation focused on who to pursue rather than the merits. If Watson is named the defendant, those suing during their access to Watson's body during the exact involvement decisions deny responsibility, and the limbo where it is uncertain who is involved in patient care, making attribution difficult and allowing Watson to be a party. Clarified degree of its involvement established who deviated from Watson's recommended treatment as a person, and claimants understand Watson's role and fault age shares in making determinations. Ensures hospitals are not disincentivized from employing AI. Tech calls for oversight. Manufacturers and authority addresses what AI does limits strict liability provides triple fall based for achievement insulates manufacturers unpredictable consequences of the Watson's legal status being clarified parties about clarity and clarification and circumvent accidental analysis of what Watson represents is not in the upstream of intelligent AI is imminent and merely entities are accountable. The plan solves. That's a C21. The malpractice by liability under respondent to be sued against companies. All 3% issues when applied to medical AI, and the tort law is based around human behavior and foreseeability to these black box AI lacks. The patient must establish a physician and own a duty and physician free statute. Damages the same damages and breach was the cause without being able to prove the plaintiff not bring successful claim and holding the doctor responsible for these unique problems as thoughts become more complex and not foresee algorithms thought throughout cannot determine how AI came to that conclusion, create uncertainty for doctors in the courts, create a situation where a physician never revolving a standard of care and uncertainties on how liable for failing to use AI and average any diagnosis under respondents to care has to be responsible as a hospital is assigned to purchase AI equipment risk aversion prevented from adopting new technologies and the things that will flood the bill, create an environment where hospitals have to invest in new technologies for fear of litigation mistakes and litigation provide effects on hospital practices. Doctors are risk averse due to fear of litigation, while medical tech and the produce products liability has an enough line to encourage innovation and prevent parties from returning fault by limiting the invisibility and allowing manufacturer to escape products liability. Manufacturing both the learning to maybe as a defense to liability laws, manufacturer to escape any potential liability for marketing defects. Advantage 2 is Stras successful uptake of AI in healthcare is key. That's up. So 22, the black box of AI promise to revolutionize healthcare and drug discovery, treatment, and medical field is high stakes and trust-based indicates the black box of AI proven to be problematic, lack of understanding, proven model results, and since neither patients, clinicians, and ask questions about decisions, it becomes difficult to AI without explanations. Doctor refuse to believe recommendations in the medical programs suffer from distrust and explainability, justifiability, and reach its full potential. Need to open up the black box and develop methods to ensure trust. The plan solves by holding AI accountable. That's stuff for 22. AI physician will make mistakes that injure patients. Mistakes occur in the AI's unpredictable to deep learning process and human decision making. Like transient parts and building the AI capital to make wrong decisions cannot be predicted. Human-based quality of the AI physician unpredictability should not serve as a barrier to uptake of physician. However, there must be accountable when decision making breaches the legal standard of care. Only addressing consequences for black box decision making can solve. That's Langani, Kadari, and more. 21 AI health applications. A major area of adoption is consumers. Trust medical AI cannot hold AI accountable, and most consumer adoption has much to do with the perception of AI care. They do not believe they understand how AI makes medical decisions. View decision making as a black box understanding of how doctors make decision making inflated, and understanding how AI made decision was unaffected by explanation because that already fell. The latter was a black box and possessed limited understanding of decisions made by providers. The plan solves the black box problem. That's stuff for 22. The person for autonomous decision directly liable for negligence and liability. Important and eliminates signing liability. Humans no control over AI's behavior and imposes liability on humans, not resulting better for the physician or safer medical care. And creators encouraged to increase predictability and decrease uptake. Eliminate the deep learning AI. They'll deliver benefits and direct liability loss. Decision to be named as a litigant, enabling participation in discovery, ability to file claims, and crucial to determining why errors occur in parties to litigation subject to stricter standard producing information that might otherwise be privileged. AI has the right to request discovery at any intrinsic and separate from a human and avoids conflicts of interest and drives decision opportunity to expose negligence through discovery. AI complete defense and comparative fault and comparative fault. These claims ensure that all parties are involved in crucial work accountability for any failure errors and uncontested figure pointed by human defendants and trying to escape liability for their own negligent action, causes of action, common occurrence, and medical negligence, and eliminating the parties' ability access to doctors restricts the foundation for limited her to live at a person is also allowing it to be sued, and sued makes it all insurable practitioner responsible for securing insurance and then be covered under commercial insurance and provide a defense of providing the AI with its own attorney, avoids conflict of interest, helps fairly distribute costs for the AI physician, making liability risk and insurance fees for stakeholders aligned with the patient and physician interest, increase uptake of beneficial AI, reducing liability. Insurance companies will perform credential and funding reduce risk caused by AI that it ensures and hides up the black box and objective standard of care and liability, which has standardized behavior without facing obstacles posed by inability to explain how it reached a decision. That's key to patient understanding. That's going to cause 18. The liability to tech allows developers to operate under a more predictable liability regime. Compensation victims will be capped in these obtaining insurance and entities without creating fault, not only damage for unpredictable consequences based on self-learning liability advantages. Does not require the creation of any field of malpractice applied avoiding the case-by-case management in tech and knowing to identify who is the agent and the tech deemed a party and victim who will obtain products to stand for women involved in the patient's care and claimants. Gain a deeper understanding of AI and failure that led to wrongful diagnosis or treatment and adopt advanced AI under the security that allows for creation of critical framework and advances in AI to ensure to a level in which no human intervention is where malpractice will apply suits the claimant manufacturers and the courts. I'm only going to read the terminal impact because I'm scared. That's key to every aspect of pandemic preparedness and response to the 2020 pandemic's worldwide challenges for healthcare with speed and intensity for prevalence of the pandemic and emphasizing to investigate the prepared response and strategies and quickly and make it possible to study the crisis facilitating pandemic strategies and then cover the vaccines and treatment and forecasting assistance to training optimization and automates the execution of rules throughout rules and successful in enhancing data meaningful decision making AI applications advancement of cloud computing and rise to instant data retrieval with access to large repository big data capabilities help stakeholders make informed decisions. Thus the plan, the United States should place legal duty of care on only medical artificial computing systems. Extinction, that's Kim 21 epidemics starting human life and we present an explosion experiments certain diseases can infect all nodes in human networks and these lead to human black smallpox stars and Ebola affected a large population risk and increases with mobility and threatening on human hepatitis and spread will affect every person and previous studies and exhaustive battles however did not compare quantitative assessment we consider various disease characteristics results reveal that certain diseases lead to a human extinction. The plan creates speed. C21 liability addressed by person and patients know who can be held liable and the patient brings suit as soon as possible and granted person of the patient would be liable to sue directly allow the patient to seek redress building insurance plan expanded to cover. Market cover, that's the C21 card.
Let me just make sure I got the plan. Cool. Alright, good. The plan says that you would place a legal duty of care on medical artificial computing systems. What is the test that courts would use to determine if that duty of care is met?
So it's specifically guided by medical doctrine, you know, HIPAA and different sorts of doctrines that doctors sign on to now include sort of if the decision made was in the patient's best interest, right? So patients and AI or patients and doctors sort of discuss their treatment plan. There's a consent process.
And the plan also specifies only medical artificial computing systems. How is a medical artificial computing system defined?
So we read the C piece of evidence. It specifically talks about what a medical computing system is. This is defined as something that is exclusively used in the healthcare setting.
In the healthcare setting.
Yeah.
Okay, so an AI causes an injury in the healthcare setting. Who would then pay damages if the AI was found to have violated its duty of care to the patient?
There would be a sort of a manufacturer fundraise can explain this way better than I can. The funding system,
The
how it's
funding
paid,
system,
how
it's
the
paid.
manufacturers buy them.
It's similar to what happens now when doctors are insured under medical liability practice. The Dufork evidence describes specifically how it extends that sort of system to AI.
It extends medical
Yeah, like
malpractice insurance to AI.
Yeah, so like how manufacturers, hospitals, etc. You buy insurance for every doctor that you
Okay.
hire. You have to buy
Let's
insurance for
say,
every.
is there any case in which it is established that an AI causes an injury or medical
Oh my
AI?
God.
You want to stop
Yeah, you
for
might
a
want to
second?
pause.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Bit of an explosion over here. Well, I think we're
Oh.
good now.
Marvin, what did you
Sure.
do? It's Friday.
All right.
Yeah, Carmen really shook this because
I'm here for the crime.
Okay.
Go for it.
Is there any case in which it is established an AI causes an injury to a patient for which that medical malpractice insurance would not cover damages for the AI?
But the AI has violated the legal duty of care?
Or how is it found, at what point has the AI found to have violated its duty of care? Is there a point at which the doctor or the manufacturer of the AI would be found liable?
If the AI has not violated the legal duty of care, then it would not be held liable.
Okay, and who would be held liable in that case?
Whoever violated the legal duty of care.
Whoever violated the legal.
Like that's just like the status
Got
quo
it.
system.
Okay, what makes a legal framework sufficiently certain to foster investment?
So I mean, obviously it's a sliding scale, it's a linear impact, but I think the Goncalves evidence is quite good about talking about sort of fostering more responsible and transparent, clear liability rules, i.e. manufacturers and creators of these innovations need to know when they're going to be liable and when they're not, specifically in the context of investments when it comes to patient harm, because those are sort of the biggest costs that they face in court.
Okay, can you explain the internal link between AI treating patients at the doctor and effective response to existential pandemics?
It's not, so the first part of what you just said is wrong. It's not just about patients being treated effectively at the doctor. We've read specific evidence that talks about disease tracking and specifically
Right,
how
but
sort of
patient
clinical
trust isn't critical to any of that. Why do you need patient trust if one
No,
disease tracking
No,
systems?
like the way you create literally every medication and vaccine ever is a clinical trial. The way you track every disease, every pandemic that is coming is by using existing data that we get from patients
You
through
can't
mass
use
collection.
data in the status quo for artificial intelligence?
We have read multiple uniqueness cards from 2022 that is not enough, that we need to sort of have an ongoing process in order to solve upcoming
Okay,
pandemics.
telomere erosion, how does that cause extinction?
So we've read multiple pieces of evidence that specifically talk about how it leads to chronic diseases, chronic brain tumors, lung cancers, etc. All of that sort of spills over.
Got it. Okay, we'll take a little bit of breath. 9.
Okay, it's not.
If you move the desk there, you'll be able to put the lights on.
So 3 deaths.
Or we just have some this there. Yeah,
I feel like you just created a maze of desks.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, that's right. Alright, 7-2-1. Okay. Good to go? The no fault guideline by the United States Code manufacturer and user of a medical artificial computing system liable with the charge of listed illegal duty of care to the patient. Those to meet the standards should be indemnified from liabilities of force such shorts and associated damage should be reduced to a no fault compensation only the category fosters adoption, safety, innovation, search 22, adoption rates, tap liability, insurance, mitigate the risk of the way, align with the healthcare sector with insurance, will encourage high quality AI, insurance, reduce uncertainty with risk, and increase innovation, insurance, play a role in the healthcare market. No likely impact for adoption, also the growth of AI and healthcare broadly. AI liability insurance, adoption of AI tools, reduce error, human decision making without liability insurance. Practitioner will hesitate to use AI, rights creep, decide legal duties for AI, still walls and disruptive rights, which cause the AT automatically they sue the small issues with the point of concern, there's danger of treating about something other than property rights. Concepts of right marriage, corporation, quantity, unique state before they start to mass rights, quality, constitutional protection, can path to systems, politician can have this decision replication, how we think about rights will require conditions, justice can require rethinking of any areas of law, the warriors unavoidable. AI can only be resistant through confinement or through containment. The plan makes it impossible, causing a cascade of destructive risks, tall 18 errors, are triggering anyone with disaster, anyone from nervous, symptomatic, technological advantages, contribute to turbulence, institutional challenge, coordination, we have more difficult than contribute to out of control, AI consequences, risk, AI equals the negative well-being and expected humans to prevent its AI capabilities over one defense of the EU or for disruption of interstate system using nuke spyware for manipulation, election to anyone, exposure to hardware, poses threat to humanity, and personal limiting AI, restrict the ability to communicate influence over known as boxing money, motivation to contain with safeguards AI's personality, mirrors, and LC, the result is no human control of the extent that AI companies are successful in the pressure of the control of AI personality, give them rights to buy property, contract with business, supervise that the AE terrorism would be free from pressure or threats. AI can only become capable of allows autonomy to classic group scenario after requiring an influence, carries a strict limiting human governments of volunteer to turn over to AIs that do catastrophic damage to EU counterpoint. The European Union should place a legal duty to carry on only medical artificial computing system. The counterpoint solves the Brussels Act, independent EU action over legal rights for AI, rebalances global EU leadership, fluidity, 21 European legislation on the most industrial national national development. It's sound that EU's place the knowledge of the framework for rights section over the Brussels Act, and AI has an impact on where the company is located. AI companies will have to do with the EU companies are unlike the ignore 450 million other fast factory companies combined with the EU and other countries because more practical place the EU and only show by example governments of AI trying to make inspiration use already happened with California vision. Emphasizes AI is very interested in eliminating the risk of AI supporting trust assigning AI rights to use the EU so companies the EU should promote its values. Independent EU tech leadership solves converging existential crises only the counterpoint makes it effective. Search 21 states are making those becomes a cornerstone to European autonomy and emergent EU to carry out management independent of the EU discuss the need to upgrade the EU tech European leadership before not strong to avoid coercion regulatory response to preserve the EU's cloud and influence EU preserve the Europe's energy disrupt cybersecurity drone space AI quantum such a catalyst for global leadership. Europe fosters democratic values policy for to AI for the EU to become a leader of their governments associated with critical infrastructure supply chain fighting systems and cables interface by China presents threats and risk of surveillance disruption semiconductor competition for the EU's edge that resides in the Brussels Bank. There's a way to go for the European leader for this to have the EU to reinforce autonomy, become a leader and trustworthy AI European rights from powers to bring access to the EU's ability to access and independent acts of the regular academy by the United States federal government should establish an agency with responsibility regulating artificial intelligence. The agency should issue rules requiring responsibility by design along with the requirement that AI systems including medical artificial computing systems always indicate the identity of their creators, owners, and controllers. The category bans autonomy for AI coding and human responsibility threats. Irresponsible automation package 20 AM is always indicate the creators, owners, controllers, and owners. We should give this way autonomy to the country should be building construction on the code's evolution. The regulators we need to require responsibility by design the main current certain hard coding the audit logs license required institution not simply regularly post hoc with involvement. Medical expertise cannot be fully made by AI pascals 20 making AI programs aspiring doctors need to if then treat them to be much harder to systematize difficulties of describing description and translation given the role of humans is too much to turn the medical occupation one with empathy one way to empower professionals. The U.S. Vast Bank, the United States, you not declare its intention to act in alignment with customary national laws placing a legal duty of care only on medical artificial computing system. The counterpoint recognizes an existing duty already vested in AI law instead of vesting a duty itself. Market maintaining norm is for the best rights to establish people as actors who say to legal duties, obligations, and declarations and declare the injuries to people. This is why we're doing rights. It's clear, binding, and effective and breathes life into the law of unilateral commitments that cause coordination problems and ILS fortune 18 climate. And then what we can only be saved by collective action entities. Demonstrate the commitment and control because I'm so much short walk by intention which with none of the commitment really it can do nothing. Political mechanisms do not cement governance like other that become irrelevant. This is the entities for enforced by a law of the treaty as unilateral recognition when others rely reasonably on commitments when there's a reliance on obligations granted to the unilateral action like the legal duty of use not be able to save the application of customs specifically environmental nuclear risk exchange shorts. And then 21 unilateral recognition grade assurances indicates they tend to be bound to affect the climate change impact of nuclear the planet is emergency to avoid a breakdown to make targets legal binding unilateral recognition and by this strength of collective action efforts create peer pressure. Show good to the one stars, others follow, enjoy the automation inside the plane enables mass automation work in 19 air was sign person. Next time is AI race business. What's up? Things like AI race make that possible issue. Current human work, risking errors, risking public information, organizations need to cover which operates options, having equivalence between robots and people making mass replacement just mass rapid automation triggers inflationary crisis, pascals money automation, which is made a lot illogical and self for hours sake consumers lose that is producers running again the economies with downward path inflation, lower prices, pay on willingness to spend leading to cheaper prices. The US and the third Japan and the US and it is a big problem. Automation millions may be replaced. There is an ecological case. The useless carbon deflation driven climate inflation of a nuclear diet extinction powers 21 a risk cascade crashes problem when it 20 IMS equals inequalities because depression stability depends on the development of the middle class the unemployment is infection power Indian arc industry political realignment Zionist Party National Code is accelerated responding in 2008. Catalyst behind World War II's under pressure was included Israel, China, no control of India, nuclear war, nuclear competition between India and Russia. TAI air capacity replaces human decision maker. It requires autonomy. AI in 20. The AI has been thrown out half-assed. The keys that have been restricted rules are being needs extensive liaison, limited rules and capable adjustment based on extrapolation, suspend zombies, any creature critical AI, purpose decision making as opposed to rule follow, violation of plans and best rights and fully autonomous AI being still required human input, but limits information, does not exist in any computer system, trusted and one the Afghans, designers liability shield turns the case to go back 22, short seasons on the ability to give the riverside, bigger receptive engagement, the safe on insurance, insurance, and judgment for insurance, hunting, live to live crush, also the next rule in the situation when insurers are not inducing optimal care, the existence of probably just insurers engage in more frequently since the action of the AI agents are unforeseeable design, and thinking unforeseeable development, excuse them, unconscious liability, the constitutional lawmakers might be becoming an argument, evolution making over the effectiveness for lives, AI activity levels should be sexually excessive, excessive risk taking insurance markets not right, and adequate remedy to all causes of trust on God in 19, and the results should strong relatives across procedures with health care with private air rather than human patients with less likely to utilize service and want to pay less. They prefer to have a given preferable service even if that meant a greater risk of inaccurate diagnosis and resistant medical AI symptoms that anxiety can be got use of inadequate characteristics and circumstances people view themselves as unique people seek care developed by AIs inflexible and standardized. We surveyed over 700 Americans. 3. Their study ignores most of the population and lists tons of all causes. 1 is he as the Alice 21 concerns of AI. 2. Participants believe AI leads to communication barriers and human interaction. People perceive privacy because their perception of anonymous data can be read after use of privacy information patients or concern the info may be shared about permission. Individuals may not trust patients. Deep learning patients cannot understand the inside workings. Regulatory concerns are critical. Policies are not yet transmitted. Agencies establish sufficient policy and guidelines regarding AI. Those legally to formalize standards evaluating ICD and the impact likely to the high-risk belief that low-risk marketing humans suppose protection explained by a huge tech ethical and regulatory concerns on much particularly coping for the interlink is absurd. The idea will patients will reject treatment because they don't know if they can sue the AI would be life-threatening to them. Obviously, there's no incentive to fight AI can't address pandemic 2020 AI is not usable tracking useful tracking predicting diseases huge problems with big data and infection control despite social media noise and human information has to be filtered for any algorithm relying past behavior to allow layer with best you understand data can be the cryptographic modern AI managed for pulling humans back into the chair as a result of big data humans AI focus is not very accurate reliable 5 there's 6 noticing back or 20 Google pandemic false sharp with humanity biological theories are the pattern short like the latest suggestion these include isolation between infectious diseases lead out extreme that kills more than 75% tendency to be less virulent virulent civilization recovery 50% errors on preserving collapse against the reason belief civilization like if global strongest case against extra false programs ago, 1.1% think about how long immunity lasted. 7 adaptation immunity burnout show SRAM 18 humans survived. 19 in the past black death, white only person population, no extinction virus, only infected humans survive disease kills humans and is spread. Disease lab touches we are adapting to end there. Or humans who are immune to any actual disease that keep lots of going. If humans were to spread out fear extinction would be realistic. There are plenty of people to cut off that would find they are the only ones left. Innovation advantage 1. The healthcare ecosystem is all carefully adopting AI now. That's 22. Healthcare AI shown promise to never make the emerging technology sector so cautious systemic application will take greater situation to avoid black box and by success in clinical settings points to a future where AI tool AI hold the potential for further accelerating vaccine development against the possible prevention practice was deploy across full ecosystem integrate every same AI skills deeper learning broader sets humans must govern to guide from bias toward exponential deploying and responsible professional trust companies must guard against legal liability 2 all causes prior to adoption goal for 22 advances all this speculation AI will have the impact on health despite high little adoption 1 into 1250 job posting regarding AI new networks difficult to understand all the bias like transparency reduce trust to provide performance and condition of quality data second barrier is limited access data difficult to collect access pool not compatible across providers and facilities that can be difficult to build this means to get providers slower to take up 3 the app can't solve internationally matters far more than just the US 4 current approaches are flexible and system enough to compensate correctly Hubbard 16 content of legal rules always instrument is something said because the limits of communication and rulemaking are limited in the present and future facts in the sky and all applications even precise rules can be changed liability products based on the cost based on the accident cost with safety cost the test is safety by internalizing the cost of wrongdoing the discipline and balance of innovation and safety for centuries litigation is not hinder innovation nor robotics or so common in work settings cut the guard at work settings 5 telomere erosion impact 11 main chromatical and simply improvements to telomere future based on animal model reasons studies real separate comes between animal and human cancer the majority of chromosomal effects are kept by healthy telomere a minor proportion of chromosome fusion can be attributed to telomere erosion future or fission is not telomere erosion the most probably trigger of CIN.
Okay, are you good? Okay, I want to talk about the best pick. Why does anyone in international law care about the distinction between place and best?
Well, it's the interpretation of international law that's important. So if the United States declares its intention to interpret customary international law in this way as vesting a legal duty of care onto artificial computing systems, then it provides, the norm, the force behind that.
And that norm just entirely collapses if the US swaps out a word.
What?
So a permutation that would just do both would obviously solve that.
I mean, we're gonna have answers to CIL do both permutation, right? Like there has to be contravention to domestic law. The U.S. has
Right, but you have picked out of the word vest and replaced it with place, which is a word in the plan text, right? But also, you
Well,
have
no.
not read a card that says that
well, with vest is
vest
topic wording,
matters
so
for
vest
international.
is topic wording, so you're still wedded to that.
Right, that's
But more
fine.
important-
That's fine, but why does that matter for international law? Because a permutation would include both vest and place.
I don't get this distinction. Like our argument is that duties need to have force when their source is from international law, and if
Okay,
you incorporate domestic law
What
as
word
a
is in the international law?
What?
What word is in the international law, place or vest?
The word in international law does not matter. We define vest as having an originating
not-
source and a
you're reading a
destination,
pic,
and
but
we're
the word
picking
doesn't
out
matter?
the originating source
That's
being
fine.
the United States.
And that's fine. I want to talk about the no-fault counter plan. Who is named as the defendant in these cases for the first part of the claim?
I believe it would be the manufacturers and users of medical artificial computing systems.
Okay, and then for the second, so when the no-fault is
So if
triggered,
they don't-
who's the defendant?
If the manufacturers don't meet the duty of care, then the no-fault fund just compensates the consumers.
There's no defendant named in the case.
You don't need to name a defendant. This sole
Yeah.
psychological argument you're gonna go for is nonsense.
Okay, sure, you'll answer it, but my question is, you're not naming a defendant.
No.
You
Okay,
file a
cool.
claim for a default compensation fund.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because I think that's what you're gonna go for, not whatever he's saying.
Well, you file it in the same way that like you file like a claim with a government agency that's responsible for overseeing this default compensation fund. That agency then determines whether or not there was an injury that was exacted by an AI, and if so, they would pay out damages.
Okay, cool. I do wanna talk about this, you did read the automation design and T thing too?
Yeah.
We're not gonna answer that.
And you read Elliot on case.
Yeah.
The second semester.
They might skip that one. Okay, so this passable evidence about like deflationary crises, it's just like automation, is the internal link just wage cuts, then consumers like can't afford shit?
It's deflation. Deflation causes lower prices, lower prey, and consequent unwillingness of
How does
consumers to spend.
how does automation cause lower prices?
How does it cause lower prices? Because it automates away jobs. When
How does
people
that
don't
cause
have
lower
jobs.
prices? A robot is doing a job, why do prices go down?
Why do prices go down?
You just said that's the
Because-
internal link, why do prices go down?
Because unemployment rises.
What does unemployment have to do with prices?
Well, when there's less workers in an economy, the prices of things go down.
What?
Yeah.
That's not even what your card said, but
Is it?
just read it.
Okay, we have 10 and 18, sorry.
Yeah.
quick order, it's the innovation advantage and then the trust advantage. Topicality, no fault, the regulate counter plan, the best pick, the EU counter plan, the spillover DA, the automation DA.
You have it.
Oh, sorry, yeah. The innovation advantage, the trust advantage, topicality, no fault, regulate, best pick, EU counter plan, spillover DA, automation DA. Right to read. Everyone good? Okay, great.
Necessary AI adoption isn't happening now. The looming threat of liability alone disincentivizes innovation because of the prospect of profit losses at sea. Their evidence is that uniqueness as providers are cautious and concerned. The black box problem and can see the remarkable potential of AI in healthcare. No one causes liability. Always other considerations. That was above the best for, and the evidence is data, but increased innovation results in incentives for stronger data collection. Doesn't assume the app international solvency is relevant. Precision medicine development and the U.S. addresses telomere erosion through targeted therapy. That's mold and current approaches. Failure evidence is not specific to AI and innovation in healthcare. Setting litigation threat insufficient. Lead deters investments because manufacturers fear high costs. The app's also evidence says personhood questions are tricky, not impossible. It's contextualized to personhood for smartphones. The app's liability regime is limited and straightforward. Durable fiat checks under mentioned telomere erosion cause extinction. Erosion of telomere lengths leads to genome instability and the germline ends a human species. That's Ellery. It's far more recent. It's the most probable risk. That's Schindel. The trust advantage. No liability. Turn one. The app link turns it. Current application of tort law makes fault determination possible because no entity can be found responsible for damages because caused by the AI black box complaint and creates accountability. That's concordance to a result in pulling back the current on attribution. Otherwise, no one will be held liable because plaintiffs won't know which party to name. That's over increase. That solves the AI accountability by allowing patients to uncover the AI logs. That overcomes attributions and clarifies responsibility. That's Chung and Zinc 4. Insurance credentialing prevents uptake of that AI. Higher premiums for unsafe development would lie in the market. That's 245. Creators would be held liable. The damages are foreseeable. Lie in 21. Manufacturers liable when egregious current argued liability show courts hold accountable. Creators subject liability when harms are foreseeable. Where using available courts have expansive view wrong available courts pursue the same principle apply to AI. Other mixed prevent abuse. Court persons held accountable cases of misconduct likewise to AI. No, all causes the access of larger internal link patients would accept use of AI now because they don't view it as accountable, which underpins trust and clear shaker broadly. That's due their evidence as a single study with a small sample size that says that people don't want a robot primary care doctor. That's not our internal link or required for solvency. All causes are merely observations about the world. We didn't read Esmeralda. It's not absurd. Internal link was cited above. All AI solves pandemics and studies the effect of crises, facilities, pandemic strategies, discovers vaccines, and treatment studies cite the successful application of AI in healthcare makes data meaningful for decision making. That's Gillespie. Insofar as it hasn't been successful, that's because of lack of use and integration. Reading the card from the YC failure to do the plan results in AI winter, which is in 21 AI changing. Medicine enthusiasm continue to grow. Patient concerned about AI is going to be dissemination. Born up patient engagement, insurance technological integration, foster public trust, mitigates patient concerns result in another AI wonder patients who are beneficiaries and need to important insurances advances are developed, implemented ethical way, improves patient care, ethical obligation to ensure patient values are incorporated. Pandemics cause extinction. It's the most predictable catastrophe and spreads through human networks. Quantitative assessments prove that's Kim. Adaptation, immunity, and burnout are wrong and don't assume future threats. Risk is categorically underestimated. Disease has been the greatest cause of mortality in history. Modern transport allows rapid spread. COVID disproves the global travel war. Rapid spread was facilitated by international travel. Respiratory spread only spread past post borders closed. Topicality, we meet the office AI language. About 21 artificial intelligence enable application for diagnostic care becoming widely available to consumers major very good option consumers trust medical AI is computers doing tasks that require human intelligence. COVID in 22 artificial intelligence the ability computer robot controlled by human computer do tasks that require human intelligence. AI schematics humans in specific tasks prefer one F ground information causes the base makes app impossible to choice brand 2 predictability. AI is described as narrowly as weak all the time. 3 over limits no advocates and 0 answers to the right duties. Pick means atomic can't explode because there's not enough lit 4 functional limits. The app needs autonomous words to be the right pick. 5 visibility AI is broad and undefined computing and sharp creator race at the bottom. The no fault counterplan firm 2 both the counterplan links more to the benefit than the plan because it completely indemnifies manufacturers from liability, creating a larger incentive to produce unsafe and malicious AI. Firm to the counterplan doesn't solve trust. One accountability. Patients won't accept use of AI now because they don't view it as accountable, which underpins trust and clear shaker broadly. That's so 2 complexity. Patients to be able to name AI as infinite. Anything else causes a rabbit chase between the doctor, the hospital, and manufacturer. That's critical for trust. 3 procedure. Being able to name AI as party law 2 allows them to take part in discovery. That's key to accountability, determining error and guaranteeing trust. That's 244. Holding the AI liable is key to patient satisfaction. Abbott and Sargentine punishment of AI expressive benefits. Explicit party satisfaction, medication, taking revenge, not security, psychological satisfaction, real punishment advance, creation of satisfaction, victims, could be special coordination of interest of the victims, reduce sense of security amongst victims in general, and security. This is likely to be more forceful applied to punishing AI with a lot of failed to express condemnation as right roboting, blameworthy, this could reward the perception of legitimacy of criminal law. 4 expediency patients, so the liable party immediately to name that name was faster payout damages, the faster dispute resolution, which is key to trust in healthcare broadly. That's C5. Credentialing RF says naming it as the responsible party forces insurance to internalize the cost of that AI development, which promotes safer AI, which turns the net benefit that's due for in the counter plan is economically impossible. Hodge in 19 distribution liability. How do you define economic wrong results around autonomous action machine? These are important questions of legal policy and common law. Since not provide any answer to non-fault compensation, insurance not sort of position ceiling economic compared with the compensation on a scheme for injuries doesn't solve innovation. 1 fault the AI itself is named as defendant, creates fraud predictably for every party involved, otherwise lack of fault, generates uncertainty that translates 2 risk aversion is sufficient to deter investment in new technologies. Looming threat of liability alone causes are impacts that see picture whether they're limitless and unreal Troy
establishing aforementioned possible net benefits alone solve their offense to regulate counterplan, perm to the counterplan, counterplans must compete via text and function to preserve background, predictability, literature, controversy, perm to both links and benefit, conditionalities, no other causes, time and stress, not reciprocal, promotes or irresponsibly disposed also offense, autonomy is bad, text effective, medical AI decisions because it relies on human control, that's key to disease, that's until the case one innovation creates unclear and complex guidelines for medical AI liability, which stifles innovation. Two, trust patients have no idea what recourse is available in the world. The counterplan guarantees an AI when truth free delay, even small deficit massively increase the risk of disease spread. Four, developing new procedures bad, hospital and health. 18, in practice coordination, relation between tech and right is less organized, result in disconnection when new concepts are pursued out and to implementation and are used for pursuit is bounce off each bounce off against which is legally allowed. 5, agency rules fail, they are enforced. 6, split study, seeing medical AI fails, it shreds certainty and trust the best pick, perm to the counterplan, perm to both the solves and benefit has used a line with all customary international law in combination with doing the plan which solves and benefit about broader I law even better than the counterplan alone perm vests the duty of care in alignment with I law perm. It's functionally and non-intrinsic. They only added word vest is in the res and the word the pick competes off of doesn't solve declaring an intention is not the same as following through against recommended given it's not a binding commitment. Falls under the F, cross apply the clarity, trust and delay deficit from the regulated counterplan. No evidence says that CIL recognizes as a legal duty of care on medical AI declaring alignment with something that does not exist now. So it's mass confusion. The plan obviously isn't key to warming internal link. One instance doesn't spill over to solve warming and their scenario has no link or impact uniqueness. Evidence does not say the care plan solves nuke risks. Where evidence just says that climate change is of course very different from nuclear strikes. No warming impact in 22. The new study confirms the worst case climate scenario is unlikely. Our future is warmer. Not going to start release so direct predictions were derived from scenarios of emissions would reduce carbon to 1400 ppm. The likelihood of high emission scenario is low. Possible use is fair. Leave after the next 50 years. Global economies have likely to trace emissions. Path world that leads to the worst outcomes. Coal consumption will peak. All possible scenarios emission less than 3 degrees Celsius. Good news on climate. The EU counterplan perm to both perm to the counterplan links that benefit. International fiat is a voter 195 countries and dozens of international actors of history. After research and forces to judge to vote logically international decides the counterplans about U.S. pressure solve doesn't solve the case. U.S. action is key to combat disease and promote innovation through massive research capabilities and the speed by which we develop these innovations. We get new answers when they present all of the evidence for either advantage. Europe doesn't have a sufficient innovative capacity. There's no interest in the status quo. The benefit is wrong. The plan is a key one instance of spillover. So EU leadership case turns at failure to effectively integrate medical AI. Itemized responsiveness and no internal link. EU leadership is impossible. Doesn't solve external threats given lack of coordination. And the EU would look insane if they did the plan. Bury in 18. Europe's Commission outline does not give in to calls to grant precedent for AI. Commission is right. Is this really appropriate, illogical, and nonsensical, non-pragmatic to introduce such legal stance? The European Union likes to part determining who the person thus resides. With member states, similarly, national law determines their legislation who legislation for. In fact, artificially intelligent persons are already here. No one should add problems. Existing national law is sufficiently flexible. Options are giving the rights of platforms including risk of uses for criminal purchases such as money laundering or tax fraud.
Just see the EU is a leader now.
The EU is broadly a leader now. The spillover, yeah. The plan says the only best duties in medical AI can possibly set a precedent for spillover because it explicitly says it doesn't apply in broader cases. AGI is a possible single. In 22, will AGI transform possibilities of prosperity, or is AGI accessible at large sums neither if it's never achieved illusion promise, or if AGI's high knowledge piece of extraordinary person unbelievably large feeding computers, non-sense, lifelong philosophical project researchers assuming computers would get it, but project failed to fall spoon fitting easy to achieve causal AI. AGI seems insurmountable. Market ad seems insurmountable. No link to plan is a narrow issuance of liability that can't be applied to broader cases. No spillover with person link turned to Fark in 22. Personhood for A physician is actually recognized liability participate in procedural aspect of litigation capable of asserting compared to all people are held to behavioral standards. Person enables law to decide a standard care for the A physician. Person does not transform a person with full-fledged rights and legal responsibilities mistakenly conflicts personality with humanity. Law recognizes corporations convincing doctoral reasons assigning person to legal responsible under existing legal personhood is not novel, long-standing, except as a general object personhood for corporations. Persons also incentives a physician can be present a corporation personhood for marble entities in Pennsylvania, New Zealand, India, Amazon rainforest personhood for A is based on the new human transformers caused by AI parameters of A physician personhood primary determining rights and duties must be given a doctoral definition ability to decide AI for wrongdoing and not intrinsic logical maker would do the plan without conferring constitution protected entities and every other form granting partial legal capacity is not enable broader expansion of rights and judges would distinguish and yeah, okay, that's other countries all causes. Saudi Arabia gave Sophia legal personhood and the government will regulate the worst of it. The automation DA, no link. The plan reduces malpractice lawsuits against healthcare employees and hospitals by providing recourse mechanisms against AI. The average worker doesn't hear a whisper, no link uniqueness. Now in 21, it is not straightforward to describe inequality AI labor. Share already started worsening during the 80s when it was an AI which little innovation rather than photopass and contributed inequality, context, globalization, and emerging union power order explains declining labor shares. Not a result of AI, but super firms even if automation play a role that should not be taken to apply. The AI has an even impact on human effective automation technology hardly empirical and AI is lacking. COVID and recessions make job loss and it'll negative when an overwhelming spillover link to establish a link to the data set AI won't displace human labor. Automation increases jobs, increases purchasing power, and bolsters the economy. COVID and 08 disproved the impact. Mavic zeros are internally explicitly about global structural inequality from income gaps, and there's no impact to economic decline. While in 20, do nothing extraordinary economic conditions impact like a word expression was caused. There would be a lot more the U.S. has suffered 40 recessions, fought 20 wars, more than unrelated to the economy. Recessions were a cause of war. They would have predicted 9 out of the last 5.
capacity to not support let's believe though a quick and cheap victory no matter what a country's economic condition may be. Leaders won't go to war unless they think they can do so with a reasonable probability of success. Market at probability of success. Reading the card. Automation is good. It creates jobs. Innocent 16. Automation creates jobs. But technology creating good and choose from one of the leading wage growth rates research purchasing power. Technology companies are employing techniques. Market at technology companies are employing techniques.
You good? Theory besides Pix and Condo?
I think that was it.
Was it? Okay, cool. EU counterplan, what evidence in the 1AC do you think substantiates the US is key?
I mean, we've read evidence, like all of it is in the context of the US and our innovative capacities.
Which evidence? These are all
Like I'll go through all the different ones. Like you read no evidence that like Europe has people who
You just
are
read card.
investing in who are investing in these capabilities, who are
you have
like,
cards
looking at this
generically about
precision
precision medicine, personhood, like none of your cards
like
are about the
the
US. What's
Malia
US key?
empiric evidence, the Goncalves evidence, the Dufork evidence, are contextualized to AA innovators, the
Okay,
zoo evidence.
explain the warrant then for why the US has to be the one to do the plan.
Because the US has unmatched like resources, like in like the companies that are producing
okay,
these
the
are
EU
located
also
in the
has
US.
resources. So
You've
what's
read
the
no
differential?
you've read no evidence
One
that they're
NC
looking to innovate, but
one
they're
NC
hindered by
advocate-
liability now.
one
Like you have
NC
no evidence
advocate-
that post the counter plan, like all this is going to happen
One
in the
NC
EU.
solvency evidence was about legal rights and duties for AI.
Right, but not in the
Individual-
context of innovation, not in the context of what it would lock in the healthcare setting. Like just saying that the EU could do things with legal personhood and AI does not mean that there are innovators in the EU that are looking to like maximize on the profit incentive that AI presents. Like it's your burden to read evidence that that's true.
Okay, cool. Why does the plan saying only mean that it would not spill over?
Because think like if Congress passes a bill that says only this, and there's no way that the court could look to that and think, I think Congress's intent was to establish a broad precedent. If it specifies that it's only
The
in
plan
this limited
text is
instance.
policy shorthand. Who cares about the word only in the plan? All your solvency evidence is the same.
I mean, it also deals with its implementation. Like,
Our solvency evidence is only about that.
Yeah, it's
that
also
would
only about
further
it.
prove our point.
Okay. The no fault counter plan. Why is it necessary for the consumer to name the plaintiff if they're being compensated regardless of the no fault fund?
because if they don't view the AI as accountable, then they will not engage in. Then there will be an AI winter. Then they
Right,
will
but the
not.
counter plan says that the
AI.
manufacturers and the users of AI.
We're going to just be in a debate as to whether or not you can pay off someone to make it so that they're
Okay,
no
so
longer fearful
why
of
would a
liability
consumer-
concerns. And
Why would a
obviously
consumer that needed, like, that's in desperate need of treatment from a medical AI decide that they were not
They're
willing
going
to
to
use
say-
the AI simply because they
the
can't
argument,
name them
something
as a
that's super
plaintiff?
important, is the argument is not that that a patient is going to be presented with AI or nothing. It's AI or like a person doctor maybe, and they're going to say, okay, I'd rather opt for someone who I know can be held liable. And so it's not like you can't just be like, poor people really want this. No, like the argument is that they're just going to opt against AI in their care. That's going to result in an AI winter in healthcare, which is bad.
Okay, sure. The automation just said, why does automation result in more jobs?
Because it produces like the way that it expands sectors, like creates new industries. Our evidence says results in like new jobs that are available. Like it's like Airbnb and Uber. Yeah, like the automation of like transportation via Uber has created new jobs.
consent, no fault, regulate, advantage 2, advantage 1. Well, I just sent it.
Oh, okay.
Everyone get the doc? Cool. Is anyone not ready? Counterpoint solves the case and clarifies that doctors are only liable if they don't follow through the staff standard of care and compensate victims through a safe funding compensation fund when doctors are not liable to certain evidence that solves the counterpoint streamlined suit to the harm to a patient occurred because of a doctor. The doctor is sued. The harm is traceable to the manufacturer. The manufacturer is sued. If neither party can be held liable, no fault. Insurance compensation fund pays damage. They call it uncertainty. It's just fact finding. Emory was clear when I see cross-text. There would be a clear, definable standard of care for the developers. If human doctors treating the patient, AI is only liable if those standards are met. That proves any fact findings, uncertainty, complexity, deficits linked equally to the affirmative. The counterpoint just specifies the redress mechanism as the compensation fund is works against AI that maximizes certainty which holds innovation while sufficiently compensating victims for accidents which encourages uptake. The affirmative instead introduces a new legal regime that no lawyer knows how to confront that produces no confidence. Every lawsuit inevitably confronts causation and negligence. How in 20 evolutionary medicine, our related concerns and death contact and trust between doctors and patients. They are not appropriate objects of trust in the accountants. They have displaced evidence of human collision. In addition, they have friends. Deaths of patients are more likely to be accepted. With a physician judgment, they have trust. They are more likely to determine research here to treat and remain. With a physician basis, or doctors and other tools, because disposal of the effect on trust will be involved. Patient will develop the accuracy of tools, but they are supposed to be safe in the judgment of the human interpreter out and stable corporation. Their judgment is 3C1 relation to both. The counterpoint does not link and firm does not solve the net benefit, which is spillover, not liability shield. The counterpoint imposes limited no fault compensation fund for medical AI, which nobody's run an AI impact to bad AI for. That precedent then justifies legally empowered AI broadly in sectors where the manufacturers are not indemnified by the counterpoint mechanism. So that plank of the counterpoint is relevant for the counterpoint severs vesting rights to use an AI. The plan does, the counterpoint doesn't. New explanation justifies new answers. Next argument, the trust deficit, starting with the accountability. Explanation 1, the counterpoint solves trust better. The idea that people care about revenge more than money's asked. People will be more morally vindicated by suing the doctor that used the AI from the manufacturer. Their evidence establishes that patients want to hold the AI responsible, not that the AI needs to be held legally liable. It also solves their AI winter arguments, and that becomes the 1 AR pivot in the world of the athlete argument that's deterred by insurance premiums. The counterpoint just establishes the duty of care for the manufacturer that exposes them to liability if they are careless in development or operation. Plus, nobody would purchase unsafe AI. There's an equivalent incentive to develop safe models with the compensation regime is made clear and certain. Counterpoint solves public confidence and compensation. Yoshikawa, 1981, constant injury shipping liability, challenging obvious rising in public. Victims switching insurance of your social insurance scheme that covers all injuries regardless of fault balances. The government's got insurance for using AI benefits with victims to just compensation while maintaining public confidence and support growth of AI industries. 3, it will always be better than the affirmative. People do not trust AI liability. The app fails. Line 21, and we investigate how people's attitudes towards harm their cultural legal doctrines that result becomes a natural. They will grow, create consumption of the law. But become affiliated to those whose behavior aims to regulate. Greatest when judges defeats liable under existing models. Human agents were deemed the responsible when the actors to supervise funding. So much conflict between desire to punish automated agents. Perception of punishment will not be successful. Aggravated when willingness to grant what is needed to punish them. There exists a conflict between the public reaction to harms and consequences or their feasibility for not being punished an agent would satisfy deterrence. 2, complexity. To the extent their evidence speaks to concerns over liability, it's only the context of navigating the complexity of liability suits. No fault solves makes that simple. Anyone can just file a claim to seek redress. That this links more to the affirmative because courts were a nightmare for victims. Yoshikawa, 19, the tort regime suffers from weakness and parties undergo multi-year litigation expense sizable fees. The courts award damages that the lump sum disposed ongoing benefits, which results in a systematic evaluation of injury costs for designers. Were often in the terms of damage awards can be small, the laws inefficient, cause litigation or nothing more. The uncertainty of the new legal regime means no one would know how to use it. Like OD19, consumers are reluctant to use medical AI than a human provider. Differences in performance cannot explain results or any system medical AI. You can win superior studies for evidence for the system medical AI emerges across domains. 3, must name the AI as silly. They cannot allow consumers to be compensated equivalently. All you have to prove is that you received harm from an AI. You don't have to prove fault. That means consumers are certain they can seek redress without needing to affirmatively prove medical malpractice. The next argument was economically impossible. Let's link to the affirmative. How do you define a quote-unquote economic wrong resulting from autonomous acts of machines? If the app can't define harm, it certainly can't. It certainly links to
them, and they certainly can't solve consumer certainty since nobody is sure. Next argument was innovation that kind of solves it. The reason why manufacturers are sure now is because internal liability frameworks are unclear and risk overly penalizing manufacturer through strict liability. The kind of establishes a compensation fund that establishes manufacturers are liable only if they fail to meet their duty of care to the patient. And the compensation fund would then pay if the standard of care is met, which assuages manufacturers' concerns. See, for its worse for predictability and certainty. Dimentis in 20 by holding the algorithms themselves liable to controversial source from clear algorithms to classification person and culpability theorists who rose the visualizing approach face obstacles no answer to when holy algorithms responsible algorithms on people who are reversing course from the record this thing of the chamber. The sort of approach was on existing illustrative avoids challenges of holding algorithms directly accountable. The next final argument was picks. They're good. They're keeping that ground. That'll be conditionality preserving net flexibility. Indicates an egg only needs to test the is for negation theory. Any accountable as a pick. We pick out of US, vast right, etc. This false and no negative fiat, which is bad because the plan text should be a stable basis for competition. Regulate accountable not going for continued permutation. Just test competition. The practice of conditionality is good. This is flat sections that we see. So any extension will be new. One neg flexion is all neg is always reactive to the F 2 AR. And it's in the to take out Tweezy strategy, conduct restores equity to negation negligence is proof the F conduct to investigation by testing multiple angles, territory based clash with insulating case from contradiction, 3 critical thinking forces, smart Tweezy choices, adaptation, logic, and also Tweezy proclamation, blade, day, plans, for logic. The judge should endorse best policy proving the account is bad, does not prove the plan is good, and also justifies judge kick. Advantage 2, the act does not solve patient trust. Patients do not opt out of AI in healthcare because they fear not being able to sue the AI. They distrust AI because they can't account for unique personal circumstances. Surveys demonstrate patients will choose a human doctor even if they're informed. It puts them at greater risk of inaccurate diagnosis, left on go needs irrelevant. If you can get paid for damage, if you're scared of your doctor, their study ignored most of the population was of all causes of clinical trial participation. People don't think AI can make good decisions like OD and all 21 resistance to AI does to challenges while speakers into reduction of medical AI has as much to do with their negative perception of AI as with realistically positive use of human providers into revolting because they not believe they understand how AI makes decisions and they realistically believe they can make better decisions than humans and when consumers understand medical AI conclusion principles or estimate well. They understood humans 1 and C5, they don't solve the disease. There's a difference between modeling disease, which is done behind closed doors by corporate stakeholders that have enough data and changes government policy versus doctors using AI in operation on patients. Modeling is not dependent on patient trust. 1 and C not A. It's specific to AI. The not predictive capacity is being useful in forecasting pandemics. It causes automated discrimination to human errors. Argue 22. The predictions recommended by algorithms listed discriminatory decisions and patient receive work here because they sense reflective historical inequities. Black patient resign in the same risk as white patient if the latter not six leading on quick care for balanced patients. There's an age groups have been affected by was severe case of management overseeing system of view. Instead of shooting on patient damage to health workers while bringing under healthy cases and shooting them slave with penalty data sets agreements. Black critical imperative capabilities. Data deficiencies take medical AI. Newton 21. AI is dependent on data. Garbage in, garbage out for healthcare AI is recorded in ways the algorithms find difficult to parse, smash, written notes and databases. Increase 1% unable to access data records having contend with forms of extraneous separation. There are a huge number of inaccuracies to weed out. There is big tech hype. Check book 22. AI is limitless. Has been active for the solutions succeed in jumping from journals and little things. Effective medical AI turned out not to be easy. From poor quality data sets, medical AI faces hurdles at every turn. This is not some big tech collecting investing 3.7 billion collective corporations seem undeterred by the flawed destiny tools. Close on the big tech will see trying to make medical AI reality. Now this will produce results we're not already. 1 and C6. No disease impact biological studies confirm the pathogens do not cause extinction. They become less virulent as they spread. Death rates are not high enough to kill enough of the population. It appears so strongly negative or ordered. Evidence studies prove cure 20 diagnoses of infectious diseases of planet to prevent social distancing. You need to demonstrate the extent to which infection be altered when conducted. Eliminate contact with the carbon bronchitis disappeared for the clone influenza. The respiratory disease in Seattle in light of other states suggested the clone is real. Disease does not cause extinction. House said 19. The pathogen like they cause extinction for 2,000 years of being surrounded with evidence that base carrier slow outbreaks have not come close. Even a boon for the economy and disease contributed to extinction of minority. This only confirmed case of million extinction is retina native to the Christmas Island. Interconnectivity increased immunity by increasing visual war remnants of strains, advanced medicine, sanitation, limit the damage. Global travel decreases lethality. Thomas and all 18 we use all demonstrate high travel pathogen free setting. Immunity results suggest cross immunity might be explanatory. So why there's open pandemics in 1918 is taken rise in travel. Reduce risk with virulent traits that induce cross immunity. Known to affect outbreaks. Now, advantage 1, no provider uptake of AI now. Even if there are all causes because doctors want to be able to understand AI decisions. They don't have enough data or expertise now. 1 in 1250 doctors AI, which innovation cannot possibly overcome. There's a goal for evidence, regulations, Goldilocks now. The sector is cautiously adopting AI that's proven to perform effectively and avoid false diagnoses, but regulatory barriers and misaligned incentives will inevitably stop widespread adoption. Goal for in 22 issues drive from regulatory barriers, privacy, making it difficult to collect data, when maybe too difficult to train AI models, approval to sign or receive substantial scrutiny. Takes use to navigate healthcare is more cautious than other industries. Adoption is dependent on medical professionals. AI are written to replace or just shortage of warnings while we're losing the jobs. Also, I believe that recognize their benefits. High costs of low ROIs are the biggest barriers. In 21 biggest barriers for the cost of planning, maintaining organization of recruiting AI workforce. If you're bringing a bunch of extra to manage AI, you might not see any ROI from implementation and sustainment. Now the telomere erosion impact is silly. They've got the causal connection backwards. The majority of health conditions are caused by centromere fusion, not telomere erosion.
current models are incapable of capturing all the complexities of telomere erosion and misinterprets as deleterious. The fact that valley evidence it would take forever and create new species and for telomere erosion. When rapidly dangerous survival for telomeres could create new species, and it's also backwards. Telomere erosion wards off health risks. As Lange in 20, telomere shorter is not going to few telomeres protect of materials with the DNA. And telomere shortens when the cells divide, is halting. And cell division when the telomere reserve is depleted. And telomere shortening helps prevent cancer in humans. The likelihoods of its power to curtail cell division. The answer to the decades-old question. This telomere shortening program limits the number of divisions of normal human cells. Go back to the other advantage of phages, sulfur impacts for 18 pages. Infecting kill bacteria, the phage injection into the bacteria. Copy cell produces toxic chemicals that rupture the bacterial, reducing its releasing in children are unlikely to disturb beneficial microbes. Phages kill antibiotic resistant bacteria and bacteria to 5 from the product for antibiotic phages. So scientists have a renewed interest in phages to use to invest in €5 million FDA approved food additive containing phages. Phages save lives in experimental treatments.
Okay, I'm just gonna I guess this is fine. Are you good for context?
Yep.
Okay, I wanna go through every card you read under the trust header, but just a first broad question. You did not read any part in the context of like the healthcare system, AI, and liability under this header, right?
What do you mean the health?
Like, would you point to any of these cards?
Like,
being
are
in
the cards
context
about
of
medical
healthcare?
AI specifically?
Not medical, or just like AI and the healthcare system.
I don't
Like,
think
we're in
under
agreement.
this like header, no.
On the okay.
But they're about the no-fault insurance scheme, the
Yeah,
compensation
okay,
funds.
got it. The like first piece of evidence you read, I guess on that question, it's not in the context of healthcare, it's about AI broadly and says that as a result of no fault, public confidence in the development of AI would increase. Why do you think that public confidence in the development of AI is the same as someone having confidence in AI being their doctor?
Because if people
Or being integrated in healthcare?
I mean, this card is about public confidence in the growth of the AI industry. It says they would support the growth of the AI industry if they are
Why does that-
reassured by the existence of a no-fault scheme that they be compensated for damages.
Why does
Your
support
evidence
for the
indi-
development of AI
Right.
mean that they would
It's
want
the
it to
same
be
story as the affirmative,
friendly
right? Your
fair?
evidence indicates consumers want to be able to have a means of
It's not
redress
the same
against
story as
AI.
The affirmative. The Lima evidence, the next piece of
Yeah.
like distinct evidence you read, why do you think it establishes the counterplan is better than the app? It concedes that when responsibility is detached from the folk conception, it becomes unfamiliar. Why is that why is that a negative?
The bottom of the card says that findings demonstrate a conflict between a desire to punish automated agents and the perception that punishment would not be successful. It's answering the claim that people want to punish AI directly. We read several cards that indicate that people think that's a weird legal process. They aren't sure that would work.
I don't think it says.
Yes, that was an exact quote from the
Well,
card.
the line above it is what I was asking.
Aggravated by unwillingness to grant
Okay.
what is needed to punish them. This card indicates there's hesitancy over consumers' willingness to sue AI now.
Okay.
It would prefer a more certain means of legal redress
A
tied to
different
the current
question.
legal system.
The card that's tagged like torture a nightmare for victims, it's just this one attorney who's describing like how the tort process is difficult, but doesn't speak to victims not wanting to go through it or not thinking that it's like worthwhile. Like why
Right,
do you think
that's
it's
just to
describing how the
establish these
process works?
complexity deficits the 2AC made to the counterclaim.
Right, but if it doesn't
right?
speak to the, like if we are reading evidence, like if the card doc shows that we're reading evidence that patients like want to go through this process and want to be able to hold AI liable, then why does it matter that you've presented evidence
Well, it
that the
means
process
that-
itself is
Well, if
self-aware
they're
and
willing to
sometimes
go
costly?
through the multi-year complex litigation process that we've all agreed is onerous, and they're willing to do that, then they would also be willing to engage in the more certain means of legal redress the counterclaim provides by enabling them to leverage a claim with the compensation fund.
Okay, well, okay, sure. The Longani evidence, about the like uncertainty, if like, I guess if patients like don't know the details of the legal process, like why does that matter?
I'm
Like,
sorry, what evidence?
it's just kind of like the legal process itself is like complex. I guess it's kind of a similar question to before, but I don't understand why that matters for a patient's decision. Like if they know that they can hold the AI liable, why does it matter that the process is like detailed?
Well, this just, which Langoni card are you talking about?
The
You're talking about the one on
uncertainty.
the case?
No, the one on the trust deficit.
Trust deficit.
The uncertainty of a new legal regime.
Oh, sure. I mean, this is just establishing that if the counterplan establishes a more certain legal regime than the plan. So anytime you say that the plan, that people want the plan, that people are willing to sue in the world of the plan, that's more of a reason they would sue in the world of the counterplan, because it is more certain than the regulatory nature of the plan.
We will take that now. Okay, we have 68.
Real quick, did you say anything after intrinsicness on rights creep?
I said the Saudi Arabia thumper and governments regulate it.
Cool. That was the seconds.
Wait, you said spill, yeah.
Sent it. The order is the US VEST pick, the EU counterplan, the regulate counterplan, the automation set, the rights group set. Everyone good to go? Concede the perm, not going for it. EU. Concede the perm, not going for it. Theories of reason to reject the argument. Regulate. Kick it. We're not going for automation. Concede no econ back. Not going for it. Right scrape. 1. Broke AI always on magnitude. Independent AI possesses awareness and consciousness, which leads them to try and place humans. Even if AI doesn't get to super intelligence, boxing AI under human control is necessary to avoid errors along the innovation process, which creeping rights. Protection for AI literally worse. So Tala said that independently causes extinction via social manipulation, electronic warfare, and WDM use against humanity to it turns the case to pursue positive feedback. Overturning political power that will solve for the government beyond 60 coup, creating civil wars, and total collapse of basic vacancies. One of the simultaneous simulation and eventually chaos machine can be combined with judicial legislative action. MAI would create global chaos and let humanity destroy itself. MAI have access to an unprecedented level of information. MAI would seek control of the House and other bodies through lobbying, obscure pro MAI legislation defeated into a positive feedback cycle. The more power becomes centralized, the easier we for MAI to seek control of the more anthropologists penetrate our judicial system. 3. Straight turns the case. AI power and malevolence means medical AI will be more likely to cause than solve disease if it determines humanity is not a relevant interest. Group 2 1 and 3. 1. The plant alone causes extinction. Just doctor having power, doctor AI having power is more, not less worrying, since they can invite health resources. If human survival was not in their interest, they could simply refuse to treat a pandemic. Proves malevolence. Straight turns the case. 2. Putting the word only in the plan does not mean you get to ban spillover. The mandate in the plan may just be a liability scheme for medical AI, but they cannot ban the ensuing effects of it. Anything else destroys 98 ground because the advocates claim they ban any of the plan's negative consequences. 3. Yes, spillover small changes in legal rights to duties have a snowball effect. Questions like whether AI can sue, what interests have knock-on effects that create substantive rights for corporations, and empirically deny their only argument. It was supposed to be limited for efficiency reasons, but slowly come to the speech. Religious and property rights of Michalski. 5. Knowing any liability spills over regulation 20 lawmaking user whether AI should be treated as a person finding a way to make AI liable represent this after anyone to get for AI as the subject also does aim with the agency how should law draw limits around artificial rights virtually conscious such as law cheaping pain points into a corporate personhood connecting us autonomous business that can shift the sound of legal entity requires to be treat corporate rights to artificial personhood more broadly. 6. Drawing the line is harder after the planet scrub the older one away. Paul Howell 20 will test law with you can be a person direct personhood of AS will require fundamental shift in the definition. The shift is heightened with the rapid development of technologies has not gone zero implication of the system very directly versus the most critical will be what levels that of the line must be. Somewhere the line drawing will highlight how uncertain we are about the boundaries of person out of the areas reckoning the risk of non-humans. 6. Slippery slope is true shares the responsibility of the corporate person corporation can enter the contract be held liable if they breach contradiction rights be granted. AI system as will be obvious source of funds from which victims will be compensated if the AI system causes harm. AI systems are actually capable of literal stimulus fish. AI have a human right like to express sufficient AI may determine frame to our farmers. They have the right to refuse dispense contraceptive corporation. The contract AI system actually exists in the physical order corporation totally without humans as harms. AI is not subject to limitations. 2C3 was no HR. 2C2 is no AGI. 1. We don't need to win in the play. That was explained above. Anywhere on the path from narrow to super intelligence causes extinction. 2. Overwhelming consensus degrees AGI is coming to Milwaukee 22 will single never happened according to most experts. Yes, before this century there has been surveys that 995 research in all cases majority expected AI before 2016 is really AGI around 2050 and soon to 90%. Think by 2075 AGI seems to never expect machine knowledge depends on how remember growing exponential rate. It's only a matter of time this exponential machine grow smart quite soon quantum can reduce cost of Moore's law, the unique nature the nature of computing training neural networks algorithms quantum unlock singularity 3. Even if long term the window for advanced control is extremely tight, Russell McKay is not looking for every against argument fails long term cause media concern is the right time to worry depends on how long it will take to implement a solution. Climate change occur later in the century is too soon to prevent them maybe too late. Scale for super then for super AI arrives sooner we devote resources to creating capable AI with little thought that we succeed. Analogy would be more would be to move to marginal consideration for what would be 2C3 was a dumpers and link terms. 1. First the dumpers the framing issue is not always conclusive about AI which is the threshold from link A corporations are distinct because the rest on human control share 18 limit side that is in no way ready or willing to accept corporate versus society except for the illegal fiction of corporate personhood because humans retain ultimate control over corporation action. B. Ship personhood is a proxy for humans. Come 7. Ships are owned by humans. 3. Person is a proxy for human ships trying to serve the rights of animals rights but the ships are not persons does not create norms social item application. C. No rights of nature laws now so rights of RO and laws of enacted 30 Canada US court held rights of nature laws. US laws face the obstacles of legal precedent subordinate states lawsuits to state legislation to the liability turn A, either it destroys manufacturer, which is relevant because AGI will act in ways manufacturers can't predict or stop. B, or it tries to destroy the AI, which is impossible. C, AI won't care about liability, recognition, advising robots, corporation respond to these sentences. Members of liability matters in different events, and however it comes to they will never respond to incentivized liability capacity for purposes based on programming, whether liables are relevant to already current software, to the root for financial sector, the threat of being liable, e-persons are unreceptive to financial incentives. To be liability, since that's testing, killing an person who with the benefits of believe that she's done with the creating such variation on made with haste and scope of AI still too much to create a person can incentivize testing is unnecessary, or at the very least premature to be a person who will take decades for advantage to autonomous E, incentivize operators to shirk responsibility to be each given rights without the investment without was consensus of experts advising corps cannot give special time to test person, the machines cannot take part without the human operator giving rights, allow an operator to claim they are not responsible. Community should rise over laws involving AI. The next argument was intrinsic to this one that's bad. Let's say after like every single AI destroys neck around like politics too. Our evidence indicates future court suits will invoke congressional statute as a reason to give AI more rights and duties, which triggers a link, a logical policy maker cannot control that. Next argument was the Sophia Thumper. That's wrong. But this empty Sophia PR study kingdom was using the headline department text of the question from our artists. We need to be clear about Sophia that's certainly not alive. Sophia is a cleverly built puppet. It's also international, so obviously does not implicate this because it depends on US AI innovation, which is the only place where AGI occurs. Finally, deterrence one. The bottom of the tweet was ridiculously maybe unclear. We get new answers to the one air state box 2 framing issue checks that would prevent AI risk disappear when rights happen. Not 21 the last instance of the legal enforcement rights, rights accepted power for contract. Short circuit the exact same of democratic and research the necessary rights besides our excuse our problems again provide rational permitting power entity developing enemies off from accountability 3. Algorithm the entities have rights and access to resources cause access to criminals take over the block 18. Competition areas system control the ability to trust the information we no regulation on enables every terrorist criminals under knowledge money laundering disruptive official enable AI with cast over consequently person or autonomous computer algorithm not include the privacy of property. Council, equal protection aids, greatest advantage will be criminal impact, do not feel the answer captures the meaning experts that human limit AI by 2040 many characterizes the most serious threat to survival of the human race. A full AI can spell like external catastrophe, effect is a confirmed idea on the algorithm for the plan, you need to cause the impact is it gives algorithms a way to engage in legitimate economic acceptance. Look at 18, algorithm control of the entities, the essence of the AI, the danger results of that combination of and until this algorithm or human control algorithm presents some grave threat when they cannot do without controlling entities and participate in economic political activity. Algorithm alone cannot engage in business, accumulate wealth or deal with people. The algorithm not need an entity commit the crime, and algorithm can alone not use the proceeds to buy property, contract, open a bank account, supervise this algorithm could use humans, vendors, any number of entities easily without violating the law. The aids greater credibility because they are business criminals want to access the legitimate world. Laundering is the link to governments like the power to regulate majority or. That's fine.
Okay, we had 4. Okay, we stopped at 14. So, we're just gonna send out like 2 cards for the disease thing, but I'll send out everything else. Just the disease fails, the Kevin's son cards on the case, gotcha.
Where they came from, just being honest.
Well, no,
innovation is the first thing, then trust, then the no fault counter plan, then the API meeting, the bad AI meeting. Okay. Is any, not ready. Okay, cool. Yes, provider uptake, the plan enables doctors to better understand AI decisions. Don't forget evidence says that the plan opens up the black box because when AI is deemed the defendant more information becomes available through the background process, which reassures doctors AI innovation overcomes their off uniqueness argument, removing liability and shares sufficient profit incentive. Regulation is in Goldilocks now. This contradicts the bottom of the last argument they've made. If this is a limited adoption because of the threat of liability, the evidence isn't included. It'll be integrated now to the necessary degree. There's no cause that there are observations about the world cost and regulatory barriers are small compared to the weight of the threat of liability. The evidence says issues exist, not that they are sufficient to solve. Involvement to innovation overcomes all their other barriers. There's no backwards causal connection. We've read through the evidence that the tail end of chromosomes is the most important thing in the context of the biological ecosystem. Telomere erosion causes extinction erosion of the telomere length leads to genomic instability, endless chronic diseases, and premature deaths in the human species. That's the other evidence is the most probable risk. The Cindy evidence is from 2004. Ours is from 2022. The second piece of evidence is 2 words long. It doesn't actually say that it's not coming out or that we have the defenses to solve it now. Go to the trust advantage at the top. Extend that the plan only best medical AI with duties. This is not a meaningless regulatory change. The statute is clear and Congress is only guaranteed a limited duty to medical AI that zeros a dissent. It makes spillover incoherent because it would require the Supreme Court to completely ignore congressional intent and make up new law out of whole cloth. Now the link to the liability shield dissent takes out both no fault and the dissent. It means we solve all of their all causes to trust. The plan results in responsible, transparent, safe AI development. Manufacturers will avoid technical failures and excellent liability rules, cost safety investments for harm recovery. That's when common savings the cases never go to the court. So the plan cuts off the root cause problem, which solves their torts and efficient arguments. But the no fault counter plan has no ability to solve. There's no all causes. One, patients won't accept use of AI now because they don't view it as accountable, which undermines trust in clinician care. That'll be more on the no fault counter plan. 2, even if trust is low, we have a direct internal link since our evidence says that it increases uptake in clinical trials in the context of doctors. That's a joke for evidence. 3, Longoni evidence is wrong. It's about the fact that there's regulatory barriers to new medical AI because it's dangerous. They concede the billing terms on liability shield and the trust in internal link mission to solve it. 4, they say people don't trust AI because they can't make their decisions. Here's some evidence. Innovative medical AI solves that standard. 22, the AI proven the battle in the COVID-19 pandemic and during the first wave in China using an algorithm how to identify patients and help overburdened hospitals manage personnel and flow of supplies in a crisis. Continue to provide superior patient care and pandemic applications demonstrating AI's potential in life administrative burdens and give physicians back the gift of time and more time contributes to clear communication, positive relations, lower odds of medical errors, and enhance patient safety and reduce physicians' risk of certain types of litigation and unknowns remain, including liability risk. And law will need to evolve to account for AI related liability and AI promise of any benefit with the probability of negative consequences of innovation is the key to success in any crisis. AI used to distinguish COVID-19 specifics and individually organized release information and distinguish COVID-19 from influenza. We do solve this. Our evidence is about forecasting the collecting patient data. It requires informed consent, which means they can't collect it in the status quo. Their evidence is a bunch of horseshit. Chakatobi is the dean of a business school. He has an MBA, no qualifications to talk about this. The new evidence is a top tech manager and a features editor. The most important thing he's ever done is be a blogger on the Atlantic, which proves it doesn't solve now diseases. They do cause extinction. We have specific evidence that says that they're coming now. They're existential. They're rapidly spread because of mass transportation and population industry increases. The order evidence is wrong. We have 22 new evidence that says that post-COVID it's increasing. The crew evidence is unqualified. It's a writer for MJS. House evidence is just as unqualified and old. Global travel doesn't just biology. COVID just proves the global travel war because facilitated by international travel. Respiratory spread only spread post the borders closed. Phages do not solve their impact. They're used to solve exclusively antibiotic resistance. We've made a specific argument for viral pandemics which they have no capacity to say are solved by Advil. Now the no-file counter plan at the top. The counter plan does not solve because it does not name the AI as a defendant in instances where AI is responsible. They simply do no fault. That's a tougher evidence. Allowing AI to appear as a defendant itself carries a suit of procedural rights and litigation that are necessary for truth seeking, including rights to issue discovery requests, stricter standards for information production, and rights to independently assert affirmative defenses of a contributor or comparative negligence. Uncertainty does not link with the affirmative to see liars. Interfork evidence is reverse causal says personhood, reinforce states that trust and patients. It doesn't reduce confidence. They have no evidence that it does. Permutation do both solves method uses the counter plan's compensation scheme, but allows AI to be listed as a defendant in order to expedite litigation and increase trust, which they sort of decreases the tail lines of the risk of AGI. Now the argument was not revenge. Dartmouth is incredibly block dependent given they're answering the wrong to Our evidence explicitly says that they would want to be held legally liable. It doesn't enable and envelop safe methods proven by the internal liability. Naming AI as a defendant is key to 1, rigorous discovery because patients need to be confident that if there is an accident there will be rigorous accountability. 2, privileged manufacturers can say it's a trade secret. Now parties to litigation are subject to stricter standards for producing documents and evidence. The AI system is not a party. They can't specifically investigate that. Accountability is key to patient trust. All that evidence was in the 2AC Josh Rucker, Machio evidence, neither in the context of healthcare. It's about AI broadly. Lima evidence, it doesn't establish the counterpoints better than the athlete. Argument about the tort regime suffering from weaknesses was answered on liability shield. Liquidity evidence, no uncertainty. If it's true, it doesn't take out solvency because it doesn't have to go to court. It's not uncertainty over legal regime that the argument is wrong. They don't make people trust the courts. It doesn't equal legally affirmative. That was the overview. Now, innovation, it doesn't solve predictability. The counterpoint causes an uncertain legal environment for all remaining parties. That's the Belinga, Sink, and Chung evidence. Risk aversion. Doctors and hospitals don't want to be named to suit the trigger the counterpoint's payout scheme and determine if it is no fault, which proves they don't solve. Now, the AGI just said it doesn't return the case. Bad AGI would be eliminated post the duties of the plan. We didn't say we banned the rest. We made an argument that the presidential plan wouldn't lead to greater spillover. There's no spillover. Raised evidence, poll evidence, and long evidence, and Verhane stuff doesn't say spillover. It says that changing definitions will change questions. Evidence is also not about rights. Now, the only argument was on the case. No rogue AGI. They do need to win it. Your evidence is about AI taking over society. Would be kill switch. If not, independent insurance has dropped the plan. Produces safe and good AI by motivating manufacturers, which solves the DSAT 1 over 2 cars. Loaning an MBA from Columbia School. Rogue AI is impossible. Ruler 21 in ethics. There is a standard problem that an agent have insight. X is right, but the lack of motivation too. Several traditions have underlined that if I really know what to do with X, then this provides motivation and moral insight. Without motivation possible, super intelligent AI. Without motivation possible, we fail to reconstruct the argument in existential AI in a way such that the argument remains valid. Is there intelligence that is genuine enough to assure existential rights, but intellectual enough to exclude or function? If there's no notion there is no sound argument. It is impossible possible that campaign 22 AI becomes a moral dictator. Won't happen ever. Incremental progress will be no closer every AI. Rest on intentions of humans. A means that the singularity is not going to occur while claims destroyed by understanding, and the idea of rest on possibilities analogous to a perpetual motion machine impossible because of the math limits on what is computable accepted by everyone in the field, market, and the field. The next argument is that the window is small. It's not the 18. That there remains no algorithms for AGI and clear engineering rolled together, and getting to AGI would require foundational scientific breakthroughs and hurdles and separate what AI does today and artificial intelligence. Any new abilities require multiple breakthroughs. AGI implies solving all of them. The mistake AGI forecast is simply take the rapid rate of advance and launch it exponentially.
Okay. We have 7:30. EA, counterclaim, branch 2, and
Sorry, you said the DA is
yep. Everyone good to go?
Partial works for medical AI cause extinction. Courts upholding AI's legal standing and use to carry courts out of space in the legal system that legally empowers AI to have the ability to engage with autonomous actors with the external world. So Hall Evans, but once he says that alone is sufficient to cause extinction, not all AI can be aligned. Now AI's legal status will gradually expand for them the ability to sue, accrue out property, financial assets, propagate disinformation, influence elections, and weaken further same disrupt society, which once he says is definitively existential and outweighs the case trope that turns the case legally empowered AI will take over the government and disrupt the governmental system by seizing political power. It's an independent scenario for extinction. As for one in our persona, which turns both advantages by ending the legal regime's ability to oversee AI, also turns trust specifically against maliciously empowered AI, even short of fulfillment, would undermine people's faith in AI's technology broadly, yet spill over the same legal principles undergirding medical AI liability be invoked elsewhere because the legal justifications are synonymous. AI is considered sufficiently autonomous to be a legal subject after the affirmative. The same justifications, legal reasoning used to delegate duties of care in this instance will be referenced by courts in future decisions. The produce the rights group that Wendy Michalski says is certain to emerge a person who grants where it says, quote, small decisions can have big ramifications down the road, ambit streets, future legal justifications, etc. all become oriented around this unprecedented granting of legal duties for an autonomous computer system. Cards indicate rights creep both can and will happen. The only distinction they made on case does not get them out of this. The answer would be persuasive. Perhaps they had a single card establishing that's what only meant in this context. They don't even have one. Describing the plan as a statute. All overlay cards are specific to normal means or partial grants of personhood like the plan and establishes synonymous legal principles produce a slippery slope. Sir Powell and Dramaluga Evans does not matter whether the app is just about medical AI because from the perspective of the judicial system, the legal justifications are the same when it arises specific to AI liabilities. It's a line drawing in this context, but it's difficult, and the plan will likely require, quote, a re-examination of artificial personhood more broadly. When our evidence is that holding AI liable implies they have the ability to enter contracts. The fact is that our AI is already capable of speech, and eventually means that courts will be reluctant to line draw no spill over to AI personhood more broadly. Now, the AGI debate. One, we do not need to win AGI. Here's a line from Sisala that establishes that, quote, anywhere on the path from narrow to superintelligence, that establishes that even if there's no superintelligence, AI can take over society if it gets rights and duties. Lapuki is about, quote, algorithm entities which do not need to be AGI. Lapuki says criminals and terrorists can give them the capacity to control financial resources and engage in political activities, which are evidence is, quote, existential too, even if it's not true for the magnitude of the link. The one AI is not answering the liability shield turns into the right to undermine democratic debate on safety checks, which establishes there are unsafe applications of AI that result from the plan, which is sufficient. The trigger impacts 3. They drop the AI doctor. Now the AGI debate proper. 1. They drop even if it's long-term. The window for advanced control is now. You should treat it as akin to climate change, worrying that when the impact was a century away, it would be too late if we didn't create checks now, which means the magnitude of the threat of the AGI weighs on probability and time frame. 2. Defer to experts. From Luga cites surveys of thousands of participants who believe AGI is coming before 2050 because machine intelligence is growing at an exponential rate. Moore's law means algorithms will inevitably achieve singularity. First, when Eric Hart says assumes AI's morality, evidence disputes that and says it lacks ethics akin to humans will rationally pursue real gains when given the resources to do so. Next, Carter's from a quote-unquote news content manager cites no experts and merely asserts it's a fantasy before our evidence. Final Carter's stats code script just says no AGI now, not no AGI ever. No fault. Solves the whole app. The only distinction is the remedy. The plan requires stepping through the extra group of personhood to establish fault through tort litigation. The counter one just establishes the compensation fund to redress damages. That is dead simple. That is clear for consumers and effectively tweaks the legal system to maximize information uptake. To see half of the evidence from the overview what dropped in is comparative. People trust doctors more than they do AI, or rather rely on human judgment and being able to sue their doctor over the weirdness of suing AI. That proves people prefer simpler legal solutions like guaranteed compensation, which filter the discovery deficits that we are go for because people prefer liability that's tied to the physician or the nearest person. The trust deficit. 1. Naming the AI as a defendant is silly. The fact that fact-finding process the counsel makes defendants go through to prove AI was at fault is far more onerous because there's usual litigation, fact-finding, examination of AI code, etc. Instead, the Yoshikawa evidence from the Twin C establishes the counter one test is dead simple. Did the AI cause damage? If so, then the no-fault fund pays out. There's no need to establish negligence or a complete legal record, and no need to impact the black box problem, but they can still sue the manufacturer doctor if they fail to meet the duty of care, which enables the same fact-finding discovery process as they claim necessary, since you can still subject AI to pretrial discovery, even if a human is the defendant. 2. The claim that someone would need to sue the AI directly is ridiculous. Drop the distinction to evidence establishes patients once a whole AI responsible and not necessarily legally liable. The counter one means patients can seek redress in the form of payout from a compensation fund for harms caused by medical AI. That still vindicates something went wrong with the AI, just not legally established AI as an entity was formerly held at fault. And Twin C Yoshikawa says that reassures the public sufficiently. Psychological studies, if they try to cross-plot them, are ridiculous. None of them assume the aforementioned compensation scheme, which sufficiently ensures redress and ensures people are vindicated. Twin C Lima goes the other way and says they'd rather sue the doctor instead. Finally, there's not really a winning 2AR on this deficit from people being able to sue their AI doctor to existential pandemics globally, even when some risk of the doctor said there's no impact of quote-unquote moral vindication, or discovered that with deter AI uptake on the scale of existential pandemics, radiation do have links to DA because it explicitly best duties in AI, which establishes legal precedent that autonomous entities are eligible for partial grants to person that certainly can counterbalance links less than the after the part, which is all we need to win in case they attempt to make something of the cross-play liability shield turn from the case shop the truancy argument. The DAs that forms of AI other than medical AI, so the plan's insurance scheme can't solve it, and the counterbalance indemnification plan can't make it worse. It's also not an impact liability shield. Emory's what it seems all about a certain regime for maximizing uptake. The counterbalance establishes the same certainty through a legal regime. Innovation deficit. One, counterbalance solves the current liability frameworks are unclear now, resortedly penalizing manufacturers. The counterbalance establishes they are not liable if they met a studio of care, which assuages developers' concerns. Through the affirmative workshop, this is a sledgehammer to the legal regimes for damages evidence because no one's ever sued AI before. It's somehow asinine to say they've established the internal link for certainty and once you cross this to the clear legal regime, which the counterbalance addresses by clearly outlining mechanisms for redress. Trust advantage. One, zero chance of assholes patient trust. Being able to sue is the last thing on patients' minds when making medical decisions. They choose the human because people inherently trust humans more, even if informed objectively puts them at greater risk. So good evidence to the survey of doctors contributing or factors contributing to medical AI uptake is irrelevant. You can get paid if you're damaged. If you're scared of your doctor too, they can't solve pandemics. There's a big difference between AI treating you with the doctor and being able to forecast, model, and effectively coordinate responses to pandemics. Even the patient data is necessary. It's not sufficient given the genesis of the disease will likely be abroad, not here, and are not evidence. As well as the twin-C cards established AI has been empirically useless at predicting pandemic vectors so far. The twin-C cards established data sets to be biased. It's all big tech hype. The one AR card about AI managing personnel, which is obviously distinct in their internal link is overall response capacity, which is inevitably flawed, is proved by COVID. 3 disease impact studies of virus multiple times kills confirm their cause extinction. They burn out, they spread, the fatality rates are never close to 100%, and new medicines and treatments mitigate their impact. That's Orange, Robin, Health, and evidence confirm no diseases come close to causing extinction. And overall species is resilient because of the new therapies like phages. The innovation advantage, no impact to telomere erosion, causality backwards. This is symptom not causing conditions like cancer. The majority of conditions are caused by centromere fusion. Telomere erosion is good. Newest studies prove that it protects against cancer and cell divisions. Or lagging evidence at the very least it proves the science is unsettled. And this impact is far from certain since the ones the evidence the twin evidence takes millions of years and numerous alternative contributors causing the interim.
Okay, we have.
existential risk with fast time frames, but none of them are likely enough to justify solving. First, rogue AI takes centuries, if not longer, for them to gain eventual rights to develop the potential to go rogue. For that AI to decide to delete the human species before that is able to happen, we will all be long gone from a pandemic. The app is able to solve stress. We'll extend our arguments more completely on the counterplan to avoid repetition. The only specific to in our warrant was that people inherently trust doctors more now. That's our uniqueness argument. Doesn't assume the full scope of the plan, which changes the liability regime, which makes it so that patients are more likely to adopt AI in their medical care. The app solves pandemics. It's not hype. Argoletti evidence from a researcher at a university who identifies that AI studies the use of diagnosis tools, facilitates pandemic strategies, discovers vaccines, treatments, a variety of ways in which AI is able to combat disease spread. Our Anderson evidence says that AI was used to diagnose early symptoms of COVID and help distinguish it from the flu, but any ineffectiveness during COVID just proves that it's important for AI innovation to be scaled up more broadly. Our evidence makes a predictive claim that doing so will result in more effective treatments. Patient data helps, but they also drop that it's a broader, the internal link is broader than patient data. It's about AI being just deleted from the AI healthcare system entirely when it's not opted for in patients' care. That's the Richardson evidence. No impact events. Kim evidence is a quantitative assessment. The prices in their warrant says burnout is wrong because of the predictably high lethality and quick virulence levels of future pandemics as the most recent and qualify. Their defense does not assume future threats. Treatments existing in the status quo don't solve. This was a blip without a warrant. The app is key to facilitate new ones. The fact that we've never died from a disease doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. That's silly phages and innovation solves. Literally don't know the war. The 2NR was so like the current research is insufficient. Now conceding the link turn on liability shields and the 2NC loses in this debate. The 2NR did not respond to this again in the 2NR. The Duford card and the 1AC is the evidence for this. It says the insurance credentialing of the affirmative and system of naming AI as a defendant prevents uptake of bad AI by developing higher premiums for unsafe development. They would align the market against current unsafe development. That's Duford. It proves it. We solve all costs. It means the plan spurs out the fastest, most effective technology when diminishing any regulatory barriers to integration in hospitals or hesitations held by patients. All their evidence says unsafe uses of AI analysis causing this, but they dropped a link to that the plan solves it. It proves rogue AI is inevitable in the status quo, but impossible. Post-plan manufacturers will develop stronger safeguards for AI because they know the clarity of discovery process. Post-plan requires the Argo call this application current application to our levies. Law determination impossible because no entity can be found responsible for damage caused by the black box AI. The plan creates accountability by allowing the responsibility to be held at fault. That's been called the innovation advantage. Can see the science is unsettled, not going forward on the impact of the nearest person or the no fault counterplan. The AI system must be named as a defendant to create effective accountability. That's due for allowing AI to appear as the defendant itself carries a suit of procedural rights and litigation that are necessary for effective truth seeking, including rights to issue discovery requests, stricter sanctions for information production, and rights to independently assert affirmative defenses of contributory or comparative negligence. That's key to trust for two reasons. First is rigorous discovery. Patients need to be confident that if there's an accident, there will be rigorous accountability. The need to know who and to what degree each party caused the injury. Subjecting AI to the crucible of pre-trial discovery and allowing it to rigorously pursue co-defendants ensures a complete legal record and transparency. This particularly matters in medical malpractice cases because there are serious conflicts of interest among co-defendants. Rigorous discovery is critical to assessing liability and ensuring redress for plaintiffs. Two is privileged parties to litigation are subject to stricter standards for producing documents and evidence that the AI system is not a party to the litigation. It will not have disclosed coding or internal decision-making processes because manufacturers can claim legal privileges to discovery requests that the AI themselves cannot claim. This infinitely compounds the black box problem, makes liability systematically less likely. The impact of this is an AI winter that prevents disease solvency. Refuse their matter-of-fact claims that people care more about money than anything. It doesn't account for the complexity in people's lives, and more importantly, is not substantiated by evidence. Even if the counterplan is clear and simple, it's a clear and simple solution that's inefficient. They trust doctors more than AI, and the status quo doesn't seem to change. At the plan, no neg cards speak about the perception of patients. Source contextualize the AI. Patients' trust in healthcare evidence that is phenomenal. The owner's arguments doesn't matter in this context. I'll respond to both cards explicitly. The Ushuaika evidence just describes how the tort process works. It doesn't speak to patients' perceptions, which is important here because parties want to undergo litigation. The body evidence says that it's uncertain, no uncertainty, but that doesn't matter if the process itself, if patients don't know the detailed legal process itself. The fact that they know that they can name the AI as a party is sufficient, and the fact that they can see that it results in safe AI only proves that they won't actually have to end up going through the process in the first place. The DA at the top, the turns case argument relies on the money that AI takes over the legal system. AI cannot take over the government, and they do not have a single card that substantiates the idea that it could. Who the hell does that? What the hell does that even mean? Does AI get elected every seat in the House? The Senate? Does it march up to the White House and shoot Biden? Does the U.S. military and tech experts that make the AI just take a collective map and let AI run free beyond the fact that it makes absolutely no sense how AI would do that to one doesn't even impact how what happens after that until they have for them the AGI debate. This is simple. We're heavily outcarding them. They have simply dropped Mueller 21, the one-year card that says AI does not understand motivation or moral insights, so it can't even understand what it should prioritize taking over the government. Mueller explicitly says rogue AI is not an existential threat, which disproves every layer of the disadvantage. I'll answer every two in our argument. One, you do need to win. Advanced AI has the capacity to take over the entirety of the government and can somehow overcome the full force of the U.S. military. Every tech company and human on the planet take over the entire world. We have evidence that along the path between general AI and AGI, there is no rogue AI that will engage in political activities. 2EC legal evidence is excellent. Says there's absolutely no way to model deep neural networks to emulate intelligence in a way that would make AI so strong it could possibly take over humans. Says that we would win. Our biological intelligence is so superior. Their authors are sci-fi writers or science, single-track scientists without the interdisciplinary knowledge across physics, computer science, and medicine needed to understand the impossibility of consciousness independent technology. 2, it doesn't lead to unsafe AI. The 2 didn't answer the link turn on liability shields, which I extended on the case. 3 is extremely long term. You can only die once. Or climate change analogy is backward. Yo, of course should vote for a quick Russian war impact that kills us all the next year over climate change impact that kills everyone in a century. When the evidence says it's centuries away because there are no models that can engineer it because evil AI. And 5, there are no thousands or surveys or predictions, and their evidence are all from MBA journalists. MBA is 5, no singularity. Most law is a buzzword to an author, and the explanation why Gambini evidence is, quote, the idea of AI becoming in a world dictator will not happen. Singularity is impossible given the lack of mathematical possibilities to create a perpetual recreating motion mechanisms to create new ISO kill switches would solve, which is our argument for why a liability shield ensures manufacturers put a stop to bad AI. Finally, the plan says only this has important implications for the link. We didn't say that we ban the rest of rights. We made an argument that the precedent plan would not lead to a greater spillover because there would be no justification for the course to expand it. That's just the inverse of what the logic they use to explain the leak, which proves it doesn't screw over the neck. All the evidence of the 1AC substantiates this argument. Their evidence is in context. The raised evidence in context of blockchain and autonomous physicists. The Powell evidence doesn't say spillover. The Dartmouth evidence is about rights. We are a duty, not a right, which proves